They laughed when the black ink dripped down her forehead like poisoned tears. Laughed as the thick, sticky liquid slithered through her straight hair, staining her white uniform blouse, turning her world a shade darker than it already was. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She didn't even flinch. Instead, the quiet girl everyone ignored, everyone mocked, reached up with her hand, smeared the ink deeper into her hair, and whispered with calm fire in her eyes, "Now watch." The classroom fell silent, just for a heartbeat, as something shifted, something small, quiet, but powerful. Something they would never forget. Backhand index pointing right. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of the human spirit, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps bring untold stories like this one to life. Now, let's continue. The girl's name was Meera. 17, bookish, with almond eyes that held too much sadness for her age. She had a voice so soft that most didn't hear it, and a presence so small that people forgot she was even there until they wanted a target. In the bright corridors of St. Clair's High School, where popularity meant power and cruelty was currency, Meera was invisible. Her mother, a nurse who worked nights, raised her alone in a cramped apartment with peeling walls and a flickering kitchen bulb. Her father had left when she was 5, and Meera had learned early that silence was safer than standing out. That hiding was better than fighting. That quiet was survival. But that day, something inside her cracked. Not broken, cracked open. The ink incident wasn't the first. It was only the worst. It followed weeks of notes taped to her back that said "freak and mute." Of pencils snapped by a girl named Zara, the ringleader, rich and ruthless, and of cruel whispers like venom when Meera walked into class. "Why's she always writing like she's gonna be famous?" they'd sneer, snatching her notebooks filled with scribbled stories. "Nobody cares what happens to your sad little characters, freak." Meera didn't respond. She never did. She just kept her eyes down, her pen moving, even as they mocked the way she dressed in hand-me-downs and off-brand shoes. But on the day they poured ink on her head, mocking the very thing she loved most, her stories, something inside her woke up. That night, Meera stood in front of the mirror, black stains still clinging to her scalp no matter how hard she scrubbed. But instead of crying, she opened her laptop. Her fingers trembled as she began typing. Not a diary. Not a story. A plan. Her breath caught in her throat as she looked at the page. No more hiding. No more hoping someone would save her. This time, she would save herself, with the one thing no one could take from her, her voice. Meera began writing late into the night. She transformed every cruel word hurled at her into dialogue for her characters. She turned humiliation into plot twists, her pain into power. She uploaded her first short story to an anonymous writing platform, titling it "Now Watch." The tale of a quiet girl who'd been pushed too far. Who rose, not with fists, but with fire in her pen. Within days, the story went viral. Thousands of comments. Messages from readers who'd felt the same way. Broken. Alone. Mocked. Inspired. But no one knew it was Meera. Not yet. At school, the bullying didn't stop, but she had changed. When Zara tripped her in the hallway, Meera got up slowly, met her eyes, and smiled. It unnerved her. When a boy laughed as he tossed her notebook across the room, Meera calmly walked over, picked it up, and kept writing. Something about her silence now felt different. Not weak. Controlled. As if she was watching them with the same curiosity she had for her characters, waiting to see what they'd do next before turning it into prose. Meanwhile, her stories kept growing online. She published under the pen name M. Within weeks, Now Watch had over 1 million reads. Publishers started taking notice. She was invited to a youth writing contest hosted by the city's biggest publishing house. She signed up, heart racing, not for the prize money, but for the chance to stand in front of an audience and finally be seen. But fate wasn't done testing her. The night before the contest, Zara and her group cornered her behind the school gym. Somehow, they'd discovered Meera's pen name. A printed copy of Now Watch was shoved into her chest, highlighted with red pen, the margins filled with insults. "So this is your little fantasy?" Zara hissed. You think anyone cares about some invisible freak's revenge story? They grabbed her bag, tore pages from her new story, scattered them like confetti into the wind. You'll never be anything. This time, Meera did cry. Alone, beneath a flickering streetlight, she wept not because she believed Zara, but because some small, aching part of her still feared it might be true. That she wasn't enough. That no one would listen. That her dreams would always be paper easily torn and tossed. But then, she saw one page that hadn't blown away. It was her character's monologue. A girl who had been beaten down but said, "You don't get to write my ending." Meera stared at those words as if someone else had written them for her. As if her future self had reached back and whispered, "Keep going." And so she did. The next day, she walked into the contest room with a folder full of rewritten pages. Her voice trembled as she read aloud, but she didn't stop. Halfway through, the room grew still. People listened. Not because she was loud, but because she was real. And when she finished with the line, "You laughed when you poured ink on my story, but now, you're the ink in mine," the judges rose. Applause thundered. She won. The publishing house offered her a deal on the spot. An agent approached. And for the first time, Meera smiled, not because she'd gotten revenge, but because she had turned her pain into something powerful. Something that couldn't be erased. Back at school, people looked at her differently. Some with awe. Some with guilt. Even Zara avoided her gaze now, the silence between them louder than any insult. But Meera didn't need an apology. She had outgrown that chapter. In the months that followed, her book hit bestseller lists. She did interviews, speaking softly but surely about bullying, resilience, and the power of writing. She dedicated her book to the quiet ones who carry oceans inside their silence. And one day, back in the same classroom where the ink had once poured, she returned to speak to a new group of students. Some still bullied. Some still quiet. And she told them, what they call weakness might be your superpower. Don't fight to be louder. Fight to be heard. And never let them steal your pen. Backhand index pointing right. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Let Meera's journey remind us all that silence is not emptiness, and that every story, even yours, deserves to be heard. Speech balloon special request. Comment below, what would you say to Meera if you met her today?